As you mentioned, Iron Dames were back on track after their historic win at Spa-Francorchamps in the GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup. They have been, of course, quite on a good momentum, especially in ELMS, in WEC, and also in GT World Challenge. Even though the previous week in Barcelona, where I was there, it wasn't kind of the best week that they could have, because they were pushed off track after just one corner. So they were really eager to bounce back in Hockenheim at their return to GT World Challenge. And they really showed some great pace again. They were back to their usual three-driver lineup with Rahel Frey behind the wheel, while Dorian Pan was supposed to race in European Le Mans Series. Of course, she couldn't make her debut because, of course, they were out of the race before she could even get to drive. But I'm sure she will have her chances. But yeah, now it was back to the usual driver lineup, and they kind of struggled a little bit in the first practice session, but then they really did some great job in the car setup for the second practice, and then the qualifying, especially the pre-qualifying day. It was raining in Hockenheim, and for two out of the three drivers, it was a new track, a brand new track for Sarah Bovy and for Michel Gatting, that had never driven at Hockenheim. So learning the track in rainy conditions was not that easy for them. And they were not super happy about the car setup on the first day. But then they really made that big improvements into the second day. And they were then in qualifying, really, I think they made another big step forward with Rahel Frey. She was P3 in her qualifying session, and then also Michel Gatting was pretty strong in her session, and they started P5 with the combined lap times. As the GT World Challenge, all the drivers have to set a lap time, and then the average lap times then set the grid. So it was P5 start for Iron Dames in the Gold Cup. Still everything to play for in a 3-hour race, and they really had some great pace for the race on Sunday. They started to climb the order, and then after the first stint by Rahel Frey, by Sarah Bovy, she brought the car back into P4 and handed over to Rahel Frey. Rahel really had a really great stint, and she was in podium positions. So I think at one point they really were looking for to get into the lead. So it was kind of a race similar to what they had in Spa. The pace was really, again, very good, and potentially for another class victory. Then midway through Rahel stint, she had a slow puncture. That was really the big problem of the race, because for like 30 minutes of the race they tried to avoid another unscheduled pit stop, and so Rahel had to manage the slow puncture, and she kind of lost it 30 seconds, which was really great job, all things considered. And then she brought the car back to the pits for the second stop, when Michel Gatting started her stint. At that point, they had lost quite a lot of time, but Michel had a really strong final stint, and they were at one point straight back into top 5, and I think they could have again targeted a podium, which was great for considering the half of the stint for Rahel. It was kind of hampered by that slow puncture. And then an unfortunate safety car came out in the final stages of the race, and it came right at the worst possible time for Iron Dames, because the safety car went out on track and positioned itself between the Iron Dames number 83 Ferrari and their rivals in class. So they effectively lost a lap for that to their main contenders in class. And at that point, they couldn't do much other than bring the car home in 6th place, which really is not really, a representative of their pace. They could have possibly had another race victory, but most definitely another podium. But yeah, P6 not what they expected, and now they were also in the class lead, in the championship lead after the victory in Spa. Now they are second. But still, it's a good place because they're now still in the title fight. There's just one race left in the GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup. It's going to be in Barcelona at the beginning of October, so they still have that chance to fight for their first title. That would be another historic moment for Iron Dames, fighting for the title in the final race in Barcelona.
That will be a historic race, fighting for a championship. Really exciting stuff when it comes to the Iron Dames and what they've done this year. Now, one of the big races we followed this past weekend was Bridget Burgess, the ARCA Menards Series West race in Portland International Raceway. Of course, Portland International Raceway was hosting the Grand Prix of Portland race for the NTT IndyCar Series, and we saw some great action in the ARCA Menards Series. 12 vehicles out of the 13 that attended started the race weekend there. And Bridget Burgess, she started 10th. And first lap, there was no issues. One of the things ARCA Menards did for the ARCA Menards West race was they bypassed the festival corners, the Shelton chicane. So you didn't have that quick right, left, right. So we saw plenty of green flag racing until we still got about 4 cautions for Bridget. The caution, without the caution flag, she was able to work her way towards the front of the field. And she was really making ground up in the Shelton chicane lap after lap. One of the big passes, though, Takuma Koga in the number 7 was ahead of her for 4th place. Coming out of turn 7 right before the backstretch, Bridget got around her and overall had a great race going until the 4th and final caution showed up. She came into pit road. We were all watching this, wondering why she had to come into pit road. There was some sort of mechanical issue. Shortly after she left pit road, it started smoking her vehicle. Her vehicle came to a stop right before the long backstretch, had to wait for the tow to be pushed to pit road. Once on pit road, her team worked really hard in getting the car back on the track with a handful of laps. Still managed to come home 10th place finish, but was not indicative of the race she was having, where she was up to 4th place and comfortably pulling away from 5th place to number 7 and some of the others behind her. Fast enough to get the win, not 100% sure, but she was definitely showing some good fast pace, and a big shout out to her team for getting her back on the track with so few laps to go to secure that 10th place finish. So another 10th place finish overall. On paper, looks good, but for Bridget, she knew she was much closer to that. Here's what she had to say after the race.
Bridget, I know show a top 10 finish, but you were much higher than that, 4th place. Can you tell us what happened? Because it looked like a few laps ago we're going to have a restart, but then we see you come in the pits, and then it was smoke. What happened?
So we've been struggling all weekend with fuel pressure, which is a bit unfortunate. It must be something within the fuel tank, so we have to check that out. So basically every straightaway, my fuel pressure would just drop and it wouldn't allow me to go full throttle. And I was mainly when it would go to half tank of fuel. And then our second problem is that for the last time I pulled out, I had transmission problems. Unfortunately, I had a problem where the bung head fell out, so I had no transmission fluid, so we were fighting that battle. It's unfortunate to go from last place all the way up to 4th place and then back down to just finishing 10th, but it's still another top 10 finish, and we'll take that.
Another top 10 finish, and you were out there racing. We saw you make that move on the number 7. It looked like the festival corners, the Shelton chicane, seemed to be your strength. Is that was one of your strengths? And then that pass on the number 7. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I understand that, just with how used my motor is right now, I don't have the top end horsepower to compete on the straightaways. But when it comes to a road course, thankfully that's when you can beat them under brakes, and I definitely like to take advantage of that. And basically, I just wanted to save my car the whole race, stay clean, because I knew everyone was going to take each other out. And every time he messed up, that's when I took the opportunity to just gain lap times. And I just had a clean race, didn't touch anyone, so I consider it a good race for myself.
And now I know we're wrapping up towards the end of the season. What are some of the goals for the rest of your team in the upcoming races?
Right now, it's just to keep everything clean, keep all the races good, keep getting top 10s, hopefully a top 5 soon. Thankfully, my mom and I will be racing at the Bull Ring in Las Vegas, so that'll be an exciting race for everyone to watch.
And of course, we'll be all watching that as well too. And big kudos to your team. We saw them in the pits, trashing, putting everything to get you guys back on the track to get that top 10 finish. Any special thank yous or sponsors you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yes, thank you to my sponsors, HMH Construction, Gear Inch Tools, eBay Motors, Sunoco Fuels, Lucas Oil Products, and thank you to everyone that also support me. My parents are, at the end of the day, my biggest sponsors, and I'm very thankful for their help.
Best of luck to you the rest of the season, Bridget.
Thank you.
Now, Bridget, of course, wasn't the only female racer at Berlin that weekend. We had Lindsay Bruder for the Indy Pro 2000. Overall, they had 3 races where she got 2 12th place finishes and then 14th place finish in the last race. Tried to get a word with her, but we just ran out of time with the busy schedule with IndyCar, Indy Pro, USF 2000, and Indy Lights. And of course, we encourage everyone, if you subscribe to us on the YouTube, find a playlist for the 2022 coverage of the Grand Prix Portland weekend. Great weekend overall. We're looking forward to being back on the track again next time, hopefully somewhere sooner. We'll be really excited to see where we go for 2023. Daniel, one driver I know we haven't talked about a lot, no longer in the Doe Series, but trying to get some solid plans for 2023 has to be Vicky Piria.
Obviously, sorry, I was on mute. As you mentioned, Vicky has had quite a good season in Italian GT. She's made her debut in GT racing. So it was her 3rd race of the season at Imola, a track that she hasn't been racing on since 2011. So quite a lot of years since Vicky was not back in Imola. And obviously the very first time in a GT car. There was a new teammate also for Vicky, quite a new adventure for her, because she started the season partnering Francesca Linossi, a double series champion in Italian GT. But now there's a little bit of a change, of some changes in the team, and so she was partnering Gianmarco Levorato, who is a very young driver who is racing in the Porsche Carrera Cup Italy, and is this weekend racing in Monza in the Porsche Super Cup together with Formula One. A very young, talented, promising driver for Porsche. And so I think it was a good learning opportunity for Vicky to learn from a driver that knows that car very well. And I think it really showed in the end results, because they were really strong all weekend long. In practice, they were like in P4, P3, around those positions, and they were really confident for the races. They probably could have achieved their first class podiums. They're racing in the GT Cup category. Italian GT has the GT3 cars, the GT Cup cars, which are the cars that are used in the one make series, for example, the Porsche Carrera Cups, and then the Ferrari Challenge, which are not as powerful and they don't have the same amount of downforce as the GT3 cars that are racing in the all the others GT3 categories, mixed categories, where multi-brand categories, let's say. And then we have the GT4 classes. They're all in the same race. So there was like a 44 car field in Imola. And that makes also quite a big challenge for traffic and managing traffic. And for a driver that has raced all her life in single seaters, that's also quite a big challenge and a lot of things to learn. So for Vicky, I would say that the first year it's all about learning. They had their first top 10 last time out in Misano 2 months ago, before the summer break. And so it was really another opportunity for her to improve and to learn from another teammate, and to learn the car and trying to improve her skills in GT cars. And I think that really went well. In qualifying, they started P4 and P8 in the 2 races, one on Saturday and one on Sunday. On Saturday, they were really good. They were at one point they were up to second place. just before the driver change. Unfortunately, the car had an issue that it just switched off right before the Gianmarco was back in the pit lane for his driver change. Then Vicky had to recover from P6. She made a couple of positions up, but then they ultimately they were P6 in class in the first race. They were obviously a little bit disappointed because there was on the plate there was a podium, but still it was their best result to date. So they topped their best result of 7th in Misano. And then there was high hopes for Sunday race again, where they were again targeting a podium. They were again really close. Vicky did the start, did a very good start from P8. She brought the car up to P5, and then Gianmarco did the second stint. Unfortunately, they had an issue in the driver change, as in the first one. Also in the second race, the seat belts got stuck during the driver change, so they lost a couple of seconds there. And they were fighting. Gianmarco was really fighting towards this in his second stint, towards the end of the race. They came just 0.7 tenths of a second short of a podium, so they were P4 at the end of the race, but really close to a podium. And I think it really shows how much of a big improvement Vicky has done since the first race in Monza, where it was effectively the first time that she sat in a GT car. Now unfortunately there's just one race left into this championship. It's going to be in the Mugello in October. So now that Vicky is really up to speed with the car and is really learning the car, the season is already almost over. But I'm sure that she's now she's learned a lot, and whether she will again be at the start of the Italian GT or another program next year in GT racing, it's going to be a massive benefit for her, having had this season under her belt, and with progressive better and better results each and every weekend. So it was overall a very positive weekend for Vicky Piria, and we're really happy to see her doing well in a kind of cars that she wasn't at all experienced after her W Series adventure.
Yeah, that's very encouraging when a driver is able to adapt to a new car after so many years in a different type of race car. That adaptability always shows a sign of a pretty good racer through and through, and very exciting to see everything Vicky is doing this year and hopefully for next year too. Now, one of the things coming towards the end of this year, the National Hot Rod Association and their championship season, they're starting their playoffs, the Countdown Championship. And overall, we saw the last race in the regular season, very exciting. Brittany Force, she was the fastest qualifier, but she lost to Antoine Brown in the final round. She, of course, will start the championship hunt, the playoffs, in the top spot, 20 points ahead of second place. Now, she was the fastest qualifier, as I mentioned. Overall, had a great weekend. Leia Pruitt, who is also in Top Fuel and also in the NHRA countdown for the championship, she qualified 10th, but did not advance into the second round, was out in the first round. So a tough break for her. But of course, both drivers are in the countdown for the championship in Top Fuel. When it comes to funny car, Alexis DeGioia, she qualified, she 10th. She also did not advance out of the first round as well too. However, she got herself in the countdown playoffs for the funny car series. So overall, Alexis is going to be looking at trying to get a good season this year. And then Erica Enders, the favorite in Pro Stock, going for another championship in that class. Her and actually Camry Caruso, the two female racers in Pro Stock, facing each other in the first round. Erica got the win and then moved up to the semifinals before losing out to Dallas Green in that round. Now, Erica is locked into the countdown. Camry is in the top 10, also locked in as well too. So overall, great effort for both of them. And then Pro Stock motorcycles are going on this weekend as well too. And we saw an upset, Angelle Sampry. She was the fastest quad, but she was out in the first round. Of course, that was a huge upset. Karen Stouffer, she was also in there rounds racing, moved past round one, reaching to the finals before coming in second place. And did Angie Smith. She made it into the second round in Pro Stock Bike, but that was the highest she was able to make it as well too. So overall, you have Angela and Karen. They are both in the Pro Stock Bike countdown for the championship. And overall, very exciting race weekend when it comes to the National Hot Rod Association as they start up third championship with the Pep Boys Nationals in Pennsylvania this upcoming weekend, September 15th through the 18th. Very exciting to see what's going to happen with so many females contending for a championship in the National Hot Rod Association. Daniel, for this weekend, what are some of the races you're going to be looking at?
Well, it's going to be a really big weekend because we have over 40 races to follow with very competitive female drivers. Let's start from FIA Formula 2 with the triple header coming to an end now with Tatiana Calderon going to Monza for the Italian Grand Prix. She was P22 this morning in free practice in Monza. So hopefully she will improve into qualifying. That is going to be later today. Then we have the FIA World Endurance Championship traveling all the way to Japan for the 8 hours of Fuji. And also this morning we had free practice, and Iron Dames were leading the standings in FP2. So that was a good start of the weekend with Sarah Bovey, Michelle Gatting, and Rahel Fry being P1 in FP2. And then also in the LMP2 category, we will have Lilou Wadou, the young French woman, that she was P7 this morning. So also we are expecting the Richard Mille Racing team to do well in the LMP2 class. Then we have, of course, the season finale of the IndyCar at Laguna Seca with Simone Di Silvestro entering her fourth race of the season for Paretta Autosport. Of course, they were scheduled to do 3 races, and luckily they were able to add one more to round up their part-time campaign. Then we have Formula Regional European Championship at Red Bull Ring in Austria with Hamda Al-Kbaizi resuming her rookie campaign. But also we will have another female driver this weekend at Red Bull Ring Formula Regional. That it's going to be the W Series driver Teresa Babichkova. She is really trying to get some more experience on her belt as she will try to score some points in the final races of her rookie W Series season. Both Hamda and Teresa, they have been announced to be part of an all-female FIA Formula 3 test next week at Magny-Cours, so that's also going to be interesting. They're not the only drivers that will test the FIA Formula 3 car. Also, Abby Pulling and Chloe Chambers are going to be there testing the car. So that's part of a program with FIA Formula 2 and Formula 3 to try to get some more female drivers on their grid. Then also at Red Bull Ring, we have Italian Formula 4 Championship with Maya Veog and Victoria Blocchina into the race. The qualifying has just ended, and we have Maya Veog in P5 in a 41 car field. So that's going to be pretty exciting for the first race later tomorrow. And then we have also GT Open at Red Bull Ring in Austria. So big weekend in Austria with Rima Jafali and also Janine Schaffner. There's free practice is right now, so we are keeping an eye also on the timing screens. Then we have the 24-hour series with the 24-hour of Barcelona. A lot of female drivers there, with Samantha Tan returning to the series after her historic victory at the 12-hour of Mugello earlier in this year in March. But also we have in TCR entries, we have Jasmine Preissig, then Alba Cano, and also Chantal Prince, and a Thai racing driver whose name is Natsanid Liwa Tanavangul. I hope that I pronounced it correctly. Apologies if I didn't. Then we have Elf Alpine Europa Cup also at Barcelona with Goja Dest and Margot Verza. Goja was pretty fast yesterday in free practice. She was P3 in practice, so the race is later today. because of course with the 24 hours race going on to tomorrow, the sports series are running today and tomorrow morning. Then we have the 12th hour of the Nürburgring Nordschleife with also some really great female talents. We have Kerry Schreiner, Celia Martin, Sofia Gachot, Lena Stricek, Caitlin Wood, and Laura Kreihammer, with also Vanina X scheduled to for her return to racing. She's been racing in DTM and had 7 starts at Le Mans in the early 2000s. Then we have a GB4 championship with 4 female drivers. So we have Megan Gilks, Logan Hanna, Chloe Grant, and Jessica Edgar. There was free practice earlier today. Jessica Edgar was pretty fast. She was P5, and Chloe Grant was P7. Then we have, this is going to be probably one of the highlights of this weekend. We have Miki Koyama racing in the Formula Regional Japan Championship. They are also racing at Fuji as a support race of the 8 hour of the WEC. She was leading the free practice today. She was P1, and she currently has a 73-point margin to the second place in the championship. She just needs 50 points after this weekend to seal the championship, because there's going to be only just one more weekend at Suzuka with a double header. So she needs 50 points of advantage to end this weekend with the title in her pockets. So hopefully we will see Miki Koyama doing well at Fuji. Then we have Karen Gaillard also in the Midjet France Championship in Le Denon, at Circuit Le Denon in France, where also we have the French GT4 Championship with another couple of female drivers. One is Alaya Kolok, who is also racing in Euro NASCAR. Then Angélique de Tavernier, Belgian driver that is racing for the first time in GT4 this year. Danish Formula 4 also is on track at Padborg Park with Michelle Rasmussen, who claimed her best ever results last time out with P4. She was starting P10. The race is underway right now. She is currently in 10th position, and also Mille Hoer right now is in 9th place. So two female drivers in Danish Formula 4. We have also Irina Sidorkova contesting the 5th round of the RSKG Touring Car Championship. She's currently 3rd in the drivers' standings. Then we have a NASCAR track with Hailey Deegan at Kansas Speedway, and then the final round of the Junior WRC, so rallying in Greece for the Acropolis Rally Greece. And there are 2 female co-drivers, not drivers but co-drivers, still in the title hunt. So we will be following quite a lot of races this weekend.
And of course, we encourage everyone to visit the website, racersbehindthehelmet.com, so you can see the calendar. And of course, you can click on each calendar, see who's racing, and click the follow live to follow each race. And then, of course, on the homepage as well, all the articles recapping and previewing upcoming races, including Bridget, as you can see there, from Portland, the Iron Dames, and of course, all sorts of racing on Racers, the girls behind the helmet. And we want to thank everyone for tuning in for today's program of the Women in Motorsports. We encourage everyone to take 5 minutes and invest in the Grid Network through Patreon, calling the show Mark and Robin, keep us on the air, especially for all the race weekends. And buy me a coffee if you want to do a one-time contribution to the Grid Network. And Daniel, overall, exciting race weekend ahead for us. And it's definitely going to be a lot of fun next week to recap everything right here again. For Daniel's area, Racers, the Girls Behind the Helmet, I'm Joe San Diego. Thank you for watching today's program. We'll see you next time.
Don't be an anonymous investor. Join the stock market social media platform, public.com. Invest any amount of money and share with friends and new friends. Discover new opportunities, such as new companies and potential business partners, and useful tools for beginners, and share your experience with friends on public.com. Link in the video description gets you $5 for being a Grid Network viewer. Use the referral code GridNet for your free $5 to invest in
Start investing and networking on public.com.